Speaking of the S&P, as we look at the market sort of as a whole, we finished the year kind of a whimper, right? Despite, some of the thoughts that you're going to have a nice run into year end, you're going to have this Santa Claus rally, et cetera. All that being said, we're, 85 points from S&P 7,000. So as we watch that, Jonathan Krinsky today with an interesting note says the S&P needs to close today above 69.09, spot 79, to avoid a negative Santa Claus rally. The last 2 years were also negative, he points out. There has never been 3 straight negative Santa Claus rally periods. What do you make of that?
I wonder if you apply that to the S&P equal weight if you would have the same scenario, and I suspect you would not. I think what Jimmy pointed out earlier, where there is a little bit of a pivot in the direction of the S&P equal weight, and obviously I'm speaking from the perspective of my own book because it benefits Joe T being an equally weighted ETF. But I think that's what's happening. I think we're seeing this pivot to the broadening out narrative benefit the equal weight. I don't think that's at the detriment of your NVIDIA or your Amazon or some of the Mag 7. I just think that the market's going to find other opportunities elsewhere, and it looks as though the turn of the calendar is being greeted with capital coming into the market that maybe was sitting out a little bit of the last half of Q4.
Well, I mean, the Nasdaq's still up 200 points today, which is
and
just shy
again,
of,
that is largely attributable to what we're seeing in the semis, and we'll talk about the dramatic divergence in performance between semis and software.
Yeah.
And I anticipated something completely different. I was wrong in that regard. I thought you'd get mean reversion, but it's the semis that's really powering the Nasdaq higher. And one other point on that, on Friday, if you think about the performance of semis, it was actually remarkable to see that the Nasdaq was actually able to not be down even further than it was on that dramatic reversal that we saw. Semis have been the story in technology.
There's a heavy narrative weighing on software.
Yeah.
Jim said it this morning, Kramer did, software stocks just don't stop going down. RBC with a note today that AI is the death of software. That narrative still remains. Yes, they have favorite ideas, which are owned by some on the desk and some wherever you're watching, whether it's Microsoft or Okta or ServiceNow. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the performance of the IGV versus the SMH in 2025, it is a beatdown, okay? It's like the Jaguars versus the Raiders, okay? IGV up 5.5% for 2025. The SMH is up 49%. Yeah. Does that mean revert in 2026, or do we still have a overhang of the narrative that we just said, that software, AI is killing software, and stocks like Salesforce, ServiceNow, and some of these other names just can't get out of their own way? Adobe, for example, and others.
Yeah, I think Adobe was downgraded today by...
It was downgraded today to hold from buy at Jefferies. Target to 400 from 500 on lack of catalysts, right? What's the catalyst to bring this group
and that's
back?
The point, and that's the way to look at it. So will the overhang persist? So overhangs dissipate for 2 reasons. Even the valuations become so cheap, you really don't care about the overhang, or you have finality to the argument one way or the other. And I don't see that we have finality to AI displacing software narrative anytime soon. And I think about Microsoft a lot. It's not one of my largest positions, but it's still significant because I just don't have that many positions. And it's been dead money since July. Yeah. It hasn't bounced when the others have bounced.
There it is. Look at that chart, right? It says exactly what you're saying. It shows it.
So despite cloud, and cloud's the big driver here, I can get cloud elsewhere. So I think about it every day. Is this just going to be a utility, essentially? A slow growth utility. It's going to keep a premium valuation to the market, but not going to outperform. And I think that may be the way that we are for a while because of the overhang, because that's the poster child for software. So I also believe what that indicates is that all AI plays, they're not going away. They're not going to be, it's not going to be a bad place to invest. You're just going to have to be more careful in where you invest in those places.
Yeah, because if that's the poster, as you say, for software, then let's throw up Salesforce 2025. Which some would suggest is the poster for SaaS.
So
and there's a serious question about AI and its impact on the whole SaaS model. There's a look. Tells it better than anybody could say it.
Okay, while I'm speaking, if we could throw up a 1 month on Salesforce, because obviously you're always looking inside your portfolio when something's not performing to the expectation, trying to discover why, in fact, that's happening. And by the way, from a personal perspective, I sold out of Twilio.
You sold out of Twilio. So tell us why. By the way, as that stock got downgraded today to neutral from overweight, it was at Piper Sandler. They bring the target into 148. They had it at target's 148 from 145. So they raised the target a few, but they downgrade the stock.
Purchased it on December 3rd at 131. It's not an ETF. I wanted to own it individually because I believed you would see this mean reversion trade between software and the semis. What you're witnessing in the last several days is a clear struggle for software to gain any momentum to close the gap and experience that type of mean reversion. So moving to the sidelines here, as it relates to Salesforce, as I mentioned before, when things are not going right in your positioning in a particular industry, you try and discover why. And observing momentum right now in the software names, to Steve's point, it looks brutal across the board. Whether it's Okta, Palantir, ServiceNow, the one name that's interesting, if you could show up that 1 month, is Salesforce. Salesforce on a 30-day basis relative to its software peers,
we've been looking at the 1 month,
is exhibiting a degree of outperformance. So that's the one name I keep my eye on here because maybe something's building where you could return to a position there.
You know, if you want to take a look at what, this is an overstatement, but if you can put up the chart of TTEC, put up a 5-year chart or a 3-year chart if you have one, wait for it to come up. This is a call center company, right? It's call center, web design, and all that. Take a look at what's happened to it. Call centers are just not needed because you can do it through AI and you could spend the money internally. It's not a big expense and you have much more competition. So that's what can happen. I used to own that stock. I owned it around 80. But it's, you know, didn't lose money, unfortunately. But that's the story. And that's what software companies or software company investors should worry about. Not to that degree. But if you look at it, that's the direction that the market's saying.
Let me ask you this then. You make me want to jump off to another point, which is, does 2026 become the year where we firmly look at not the disruptors of AI, but the disrupted in a more meaningful way? This one would seem to be somewhat obvious, frankly. You've talked about a call center, obviously the disruptions there. Stock's down 95%. Do we need to open the aperture up a little bit wider and take a look at what other pictures are going to be fully distorted?
Well, I think that's what's happening with the Microsoft just being flat and others moving higher. So it's a very difficult landscape to navigate with software. You just don't know. So the market's saying, I'm just going to sit in the sideline and wait till it turns out.